And we're back from the blue corner, and what can I say? What blue corner would be complete without a set of blue boxing gloves? So I want to give a quick shout out to Box Boxing for sending a little care package throughout the week, and I have to say I am totally impressed with the quality of these things, and I'll be ordering another pair to use throughout training and to, you know, tap people's chins. Before we get started today, I have to give a couple of birthday shout-outs to the Leos in my life. They're both celebrating a birthday this week, and without them, this podcast wouldn't be possible. And if I forgot their birthdays, this would probably be the last episode. So happy birthday, and we will celebrate in full effect once this pandemic is over. But having said that, we're on to today's episode. Today's guest has come up through the national circuit. He was the featherweight champion twice for Brace before claiming titles in the Super Fight League and also Urban Fight Nights. And then getting the call up from the UFC last October with a Fight of the Night performance. He's very impressive and his army makes a lot of noise. I'm talking about none other than Jamie Mullarkey. How have you been?
Been good, mate. Been good. Been training very hard. Couple of little hip hops along the way, as everyone's been having. But yeah, everything's been going well, mate.
So when you say hip hops, is that just based with the whole pandemic that's going on at the moment, or is there more to it?
Yeah, and a couple of my own. So I had surgery at the start of the year. Just not your ideal start to the UFC. Just having my debut. Going into my second fight, I got injured and had a bulged disc in my neck. So that was a pretty serious injury. Had to get surgery on that in March. And then, yeah, obviously with the whole coronavirus, just trying to train through all of that. But we've been making it work.
And has it been hard to train through that, or have you guys kind of been in a better situation? Because being Central Coast, I guess you're a little more isolated already than, you know, Sydney or in at the moment, Melbourne's the real bad one. But like, have you been able to train all the way through, or has it been like a case of, as Max Holloway said, where, whether you believe him or not, where he's been doing a lot of his training just through Zoom?
Yeah. No, we've been making it work, man. It was difficult, like starting off, but I think everyone was doing the same thing and just getting a home set up and just training every day and making it work.
Yeah, right. And so let's go back to the beginning. When did you decide that MMA? Because you played football before that, right?
Yes.
And you used MMA as a way to keep fit in the off season.
Yeah.
When did that all occur? And did you ever consider going back to football, or was it once you made that transition, you were kind of done and dusted?
Yeah, well, initially I was going straight back to footy. I was just, like you said, in the off season, just going to train. When season come back around, I was just going to be fitter, like just to fill in the instead of getting fat and lazy and unfit. Those first couple of weeks back to footy were always so fucking hard. But then I've kind of just got stuck in it because I picked it up pretty well. Better than any other sport that I've done. And then when I had my first fight, like a year later, there was no going back. I was just obsessed. All I wanted to do was train.
And what pushed you to mixed martial arts to begin with? Like you say, obviously to keep fit, but I mean, you know, there's 101 ways to keep fit. So what got you into mixed martial arts?
Yeah, just watching it on TV. I was watching it with my brother on Fuel TV when it was first coming over here, and I just started getting hooked on. It was Ultimate Fighter 7. I think Amir Sadallah, Amir Sadala beat CB Dalloway in the finals, and like I've just never seen these like arm bars, and started seeing like everyone sees it as cage fighting, but I started seeing the technical side of it, that these guys, they're not just getting in a cage and locking the door and whoever comes out, like, you know, it's not a fight to the death. They're like, it's a technical martial arts. It's mixed martial arts, and that side of it was cool. So I was just interested in it and just literally just wanted to try it out and have a bit of fun, and then got good at it and got stuck in the sport 10 years later, 11 years later now. So.
And that's definitely a throwback. Fuel TV, I don't even know if that's still around. No. I mean, I don't even watch Foxtel anymore, so I really don't know if it's still around. But I do remember Fuel TV, and I do remember watching the fights back in the day.
Yeah.
So do you remember the first fight you took? Who it was against, and what promotion? And do you still remember your first fight?
Yeah. My first fight was Tougher 5. Tougher was a MMA promotion on the Central Coast, ran by a guy, Brian. I don't know, I can't remember his last name, but yeah, it was a good show, and I just got about a month's notice. They just said, "Do you want to fight?" His name was Luke Podgy, the kid I fought from another gym, and yeah, we went out, and I think it was 2 5-minute rounds. It wasn't scheduled for 3. And I went out there and got a first round stoppage.
And how was that first experience? Like, do you remember the emotions leading into it? Like, I mean, I know you say you picked it up pretty easily, and you know it was kind of like a draw to you. But like, was there nerves going into that first fight? Like, how was that moment? As I say, leading in, whether it be like the training camp leading up to it, or even backstage warming up.
Oh, nervous as hell. I remember it like it was yesterday. Like, the best way I can describe it is exactly what Mike Tyson said when he was having his first fight, where he just didn't want to go out there. He just wanted to run away. That was the kind of the feeling it was like on the night. The lead up and everything was just really exciting. But on the night, it was probably the most scared I've ever been. You know, I could like going out there in front of a big crowd and fighting someone in a cage. It was pretty intimidating.
And even with your first fight, did you already have the Mullarkey army there, or is that something that built over time? And I only say that because Sam Goodman, who was one of my guests earlier on, he kind of had the same story where. He's boxer, he's not MMA, but he did the same thing. He took it up to keep fit during the off season for football. And he's also got an army behind him, right? Like every time you go to his fights, and I guess it's all his ex-football teammates and everything like that. So like my question is it the same with you? Like, is the Mullarkey army like your football team that's like followed you during your whole career now, or has that been an army that's kind of built over time?
Yeah, it's my initial close friends and family. As far as the first fight that I ever had, like the first couple of fights, I was pretty quiet about it, really. Like it was my thing. I didn't really tell many people. I think after my first fight, I went back to school on Monday, and a lot of my mates didn't even know I had a fight. And then everyone, a few of them were asking, how'd you go? And then...
you didn't even have a black eye?
Nah, luckily it took me a few fights to start getting hit, and now I can't stop getting hit. But yeah, it's definitely grown, but it's the Mullarkey army is my friends and family. They know who they are.
It's so much fun to watch. Like I said the same to Sam, you know, it's like you really get the buzz as soon as that walkout happens when you have that kind of support behind you. Like it's unreal. Like I love it, right? Like
yeah.
it's such a fun hoot. And when they make a lot of noise, they make a lot of noise. But so from that, when did you originally move? Because I know you took a couple of amateur fights under the Brace brand as well, right? Yep. So when did that all happen? Like how far in did that happen? Was that
Yeah, so my first amateur fight on brace was 2000, I think it was 2013 against Martin Ewan, and I had one amateur fight with brace that we had a cracker fight, and then I went pro in 2000 the end of 2013 and I faced Luke Hume. So that was how old was I? 19 then.
And I mean, that's a crazy amateur fight, right? I mean, when you think about it, like, I mean, he's now the champ for ONE FC, and it's like, you know, if you're going to have a fight at amateurs, that's probably not the one that you want to have. But I mean, you know, when you look at your resume of people that you fought, you've definitely fought some of the best. I mean, we'll go further along, and you know, people realize that you've already now fought the current UFC champ, so you've definitely been fighting, you know, some really top competition, even on the national circuit. But you started with brace, you turned pro, and what was your record? You went up, what was it, 10-0 in the pro?
Yeah, so I went 9-0, and then got to 9-0, and we got offered Alex Volkanovski for the AFC Featherweight Championship, and that was a fight that I wanted. That was probably the belt that I wanted the most at the time, because I saw that a lot of the AFC champions were getting signed by the UFC. So UFC's always been the goal to make it into, and that was where I suffered my first loss against Alex Volkanovski. He knocked me out cold first round, but I learned a lot from that fight.
And is it something that you can look back on and say to yourself, you know, if you were ever to have that fight, you would make certain adjustments? Like when you say you learnt from that fight, where is it that you think it may have gone wrong, and what kind of adjustments would you make? Look, I'm not saying you guys are going to fight again, but like if you were to take a fight like that again, you know, what kind of adjustments would you?
Yeah, for sure. There's adjustments to make in every fight, let alone whether you win or lose. And the biggest thing I remember learning from fighting Alex was I knew that he's done a lot in the sport. He's done more than me. He was at the top of the Australian featherweight division. So the biggest thing for me with that fight was I remember letting his hype and just kind of forgetting about what I've done and forgetting that I'm tough too. I was almost already beaten before stepping in the cage that night. Just from, you know, things people say, like everyone just putting him up on the pedestal and everything like that. So yeah, it would be more, the biggest thing I learned was definitely just believing in yourself, more so than anything.
And did you find that suffering that initial knockout, because that was the first time you got knocked out, right? I mean,
yep.
During your brace run, as I say, you were kind of undefeated until that point, and I remember watching you in brace, and there were a few times that I was like, ooh, you're in a tough spot, but you somehow always came out at the other end. But having that defeat, that knockout, and I only asked because obviously after that you came back to brace and you suffered one more loss, right? Do you think that had anything to do with that knockout? Or are they just two separate instances? And the only reason I ask is, like, you know, when you sometimes hear of people and they say, you know, like it's hard to recover once you've been knocked out, or even if it's just like a confidence thing, because until then you've been undefeated, so you probably felt, you know, 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and then someone was able to get a notch on you. Like, coming back on that fight afterwards, was there not a lack of confidence, but like, did it drop a little bit because you had now suffered that loss? Or you know what I'm trying to say? It's like, did that play into your next fight at all?
A little bit, you know, like when you get stopped like that, it's always deep in the back of your mind that it could happen again, but it's the game we play. So yeah, it was still there a little bit, but it's it is what it is. You just get back on the horse and get back in there.
And then obviously you went on from there, and as said in the intro, you went on to win multiple belts, one in Urban Fight Nights, and then the other one in is it Super Fight League? Yep. How was your experiences with those leagues?
Yeah, it was unreal. So with Urban Fight Night, that was actually, I was training to fight for the featherweight title, and this was when I transitioned, like made the move up, went up weight to lightweight because I was scheduled to fight featherweight, and my opponent pulled out, and they said, look, we can try and get you another featherweight, or we've got Josh Togo and you can fight him at lightweight. So and it was actually such a blessing in disguise because, you know, my coach Ross was even saying to me, I'm not liking you getting down to featherweight anymore. Like I was, you know, 7 weeks out, eating little to nothing, and looking just drained. And where I should be feeling strong, I should be enjoying my training camp and enjoying training. But so I said yes to the lightweight title, jumped up a weight class and started performing better. Felt my new home.
And do you look back on that and sometimes think, why was I cutting that kind of weight before? Because you used to cut a bit of weight, right?
Yeah. No, it's just about learning along the process. Like I was able to make that weight and still perform, and then as time went on, you know, grew I filled out a bit more, grew a bit bigger, and I started to notice that my performance wasn't the same, and it was starting to affect my performance like pretty massively. So that was when we said, okay, we've got a crack at this lightweight title. Let's go for that and see how we feel. And it was like 100 times better. My ability to take a shot is a lot better when I'm more hydrated. I'm not cutting that. It's just that extra couple of kilos at the end of your weight cut. Every fighter knows that. Every fighter knows that you can get within a range and still feel good. And then it's those last 2 kilos at the end that are killer, and especially if it's a big cut. Lightweight's not too bad for me because I'm definitely closer to that weight when I'm just fit and walking around, and I don't sap myself that extra 2-3 kilos that really affects me 24 hours later when you're fighting someone.
So why do you think so many fighters do these massive weight cuts? Like, because, you know, like I kind of ask because you see like a lot of these fighters, Michael Chiesa's one, right, where he was really draining himself all the time and it was getting a problem, and he's moved up a weight class and he's had some massive success. And I always wonder, like, why do you think it is in the fighter's mentality, especially early on in the career, to always try to cut as much weight as you possibly can?
I think it's because you are making that weight class and it's just the norm. And the idea is to be the bigger guy, to still perform at your optimal weight and be the biggest that you can be in the cage. That's the end goal. So some guys can do it. Some guys can cut. Like I remember Rick Alchin when he's a training partner of mine, and you know he's one of the biggest welterweights in the country, probably the biggest, and he could still perform from cutting a lot of weight. So if you can do it, like hats off to you. But it's learning along the way. It's learning what works for you and what doesn't. It took me 2 losses to learn that, and it might just even be the way I was doing it as well. Maybe I could still get to featherweight even now, but I don't I don't see that happening anytime soon.
So the Alex fight, was that at featherweight or lightweight?
Yeah, featherweight.
That was a featherweight?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. And do you find now that you're not cutting as much weight, do you find, because obviously your last fight was a barn burner and it went the distance, do you find that not only about being able to take a shot, but do you find that your energy levels are better throughout? Like you're not getting to like, you know, halfway through round 2 and feel like, did you used to find that, like, could you actually feel your energy levels dip?
Exactly what you're saying in featherweight. My last couple of fights, I noticed that, I was the bigger guy. My last couple of fights that I even won at featherweight, I'd be blowing steam after the first round. And I think the big weight cut the day before, had a massive play into that, you know what I mean?
So you obviously now train under Ross Pearson, who's also had like a pretty successful UFC career.
Yeah.
How is that, and how's the gym? Like, have you guys relocated? Because I saw somewhere, I don't know if it was on the actual Central Coast MMA or something, but a few weeks back you guys were kind of like setting things up again. So have you relocated, or what's going on out there?
Yeah, we've just moved into a new location, just down the road from the old one, but it's a bit bigger of an area, better space for us, and it's cranking, man. Everyone's just chomping at the bit.
And how has Ross's transition into coaching been, like, from your perspective? Because, I mean, look, you can be a good fighter. It doesn't necessarily always mean you're the greatest coach, but then some people pick up on that coaching talent really, really easily. Like, so as a coach, how do you find, training under Ross?
Yeah, he's a natural, man. He's a natural. He's also a training partner. Like, he's still fit and active and hungry. So it's a good combination. I'm really enjoying it. He's very good at breaking things down, and yeah, like you said, not everyone can do it, but he's doing great,
mate. And he's got a lot of experience. I mean, and I think that comes into it as well. You know, like, and I'm talking about not even the coaching side of things, but dealing with the pressures of fighting in the UFC and stuff like that. I'm sure like there's a lot of experience that goes into that. Do you know, is he gonna take any more fights, or is you think he's now settled into the coaching role and that's where he is, or is there a potential that he might take another fight here or there?
I think he'll still fight again. Whether it's boxing, MMA, I'm not sure, but he's still hungry to get at it. Still
hungry, nice.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the regional side of things as well, was there ever a time, because I mean you've been grinding on the regional scene for a long time now, before obviously October, was there ever a time that you kind of felt like, man, is it ever going to happen?
Yes and no. I love fighting, man, so I was going to be fighting regardless, but you do sort of have the doubts kind of come in, and you're wondering, like, what's it going to take? How do I get in? But the best sort of advice I can give is just keep your head down, keep working, keep winning fights, and it'll come.
I mean, and the only reason I ask is, I get that you love to fight. Like, you're one of the people that I do really, as I say, see that in. But there also comes a point where you're kind of like, well, am I making a career out of this or not? And, the national scene, so to speak, is a lot harder than, I guess, in the pay packets than it is once you start getting onto these international circuits. And I'm not saying UFC specifically, could be Bellator, could be ONE FC. I mean, I know Martin's doing really well for himself, but, we all know that the national scene is a bit of a hard slog, and then there must come a point where you're kind of like, I love to fight, but am I going to do it as a hobby on the side, or am I going to keep pushing through to actually try to make this into a career?
Yeah, no, you do. You sort of have those conversations with yourself every now and then. But yeah, I think if you love it enough, you're going to keep going. Like to me, it was always the end goal to get in the UFC, but it wasn't always just about that. So that you have to love it to keep going. You really do. It's one of those sports, like the shit we put our bodies through, the mental stress, the sacrifices. It is hard, man. That's why not many people can stay in the sport for a long time.
And I think that's with everything. You know, like, I mean, I've done touring with some bands as well, and like even when you see their kind of struggles, right? Like some of the biggest bands, like for the first 8 years, you know, you kind of go, are we doing the right thing? And it's those people that keep pushing through, you know, they eventually make it, which is kind of crazy. Now, do you have, I guess, a agent, or does Ross kind of play that part as well, or how does that work? And I only ask, like, for instance, this call up that you got last year, was that purely on, because I know you also called Brad out on one of the socials. I forgot which one. I think it was Twitter or something like that.
Yeah.
Or do you have someone who was actively trying to get you into the big leagues?
No, we got in just by hard work and making a lot of noise. Just making a lot of noise on social media, and it's opportunity as well. I saw that as a massive opportunity. Like, the UFC was coming to Melbourne in October, so we were like training, but not training like you've got to fight. Like, in all honesty, it was we were just training, and then I saw he get signed, and it was like, bingo, this is it. Like, let's ramp it up. So no, I don't have any management.
Okay, so and that's what made you go after him, because I was actually that was gonna be my next question. Why Brad? But it was because you saw that he got signed, and you were like, okay, well, it's time for us to start making some noise, or
yeah, he was my ticket in. I saw that he was. It said he was signed to fight on October 6th for UFC 243. So, but opponent TBA. So I was like, who else are they going to put him against? Like, I'm right here. I'm ready to go. Made the noise, tagged the UFC, and it worked. All my family, friends, supporters. It was like, it was different on that one. Like, I had, you know, when you get a feeling, and you get it, like, it was a feeling. Like, I was like, I think it's gonna happen. I think this is, because everything was just blowing up, and people were seeing it, and it came through.
And when did the initial contact go? Like, what was it? How did that all happen? Was it a phone call from the UFC, and like, or how? Yeah, how did it all come about?
Yeah, so Ross was talking to the UFC for me, and he gave me the nod. He said, we got it, and yeah, it was on from there.
And was there any point in that whole preparation? So short notice. I mean, you ended up having, by the time you knew, I mean, as you said, you were training all along, but when you actually knew the fight was going ahead, you probably had, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
3 weeks to prepare?
Yeah.
On the biggest UFC card ever, crowd-wise, obviously supporting the home turf. Yeah, like, was there ever a moment in that 3 weeks then that you were like, oh, I've bitten off more than I can chew, or that never crossed your mind? You were just like,
Nah, yeah, not once. That was, in my eyes, it was mine for the taking. And then it just played out how it played out. He did well. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you got to be happy with that performance. It's not often that you make a debut like that. As I said, on the biggest stage in the world, biggest capacity crowd ever, and then you pick up the fight of the night honors, right? And even that, I mean, because you were on the undercard, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So like normally, I mean, you'll get performances of the night sometimes in the undercard or whatever, but to have the fight of the night, I think that was that was a good chip to kind of take home. Is there anything that happened during that fight that you weren't expecting? Or, I mean, obviously, apart from not getting the win, like, did it play out the way you thought it would? Or is there anything that kind of surprised you? Or even like going back to nervous energy and stuff, like, was there anything leading up to that experience that you hadn't already played through on your head a million times over? Is there anything?
No, I think everything was what I expected, to be honest. I knew it was a tough fight. I knew it was going to be tough. It didn't go the way I saw it going because I saw myself winning, obviously. But he was strong. That surprised me. He was very, very strong. Hard to hold down, and then the short lead up didn't go in my favour because I didn't have the confidence to go hard from the start. I was trying to sort of save my energy, and then the fight got wild, and I pretty much gassed at the end of the fight in those last, 2.5, 3 minutes, where that's the last thing the judge sees, and I just didn't have the gas in the tank. We left it all out there, so it was good to get the fight of the night, obviously, but it was still bittersweet. Like all the fight of the night done for me was took a little bit of sting off the loss. Like if there was a way to lose your debut, that was the way. That was the best way to lose. But it still eats away at me that I didn't win that fight. Because I think I should have won that fight.
Well, and also, the fact that you did take it to the distance and stuff, you know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be that point where it's say he knocked you out, or say he submitted you, or something like that, at the end of the day, when it comes to, decisions and stuff like that, it's, that's why you always get people crying as well. Oh, it's a bad decision, it's this and that, because it's so much, objective, right? It's really objective as well. Had you done it again the next day, they might have given it your way. You really don't know. It's not a bad way. I mean, I know what you're saying. You want to take the sting out of it, but if you were going to go down, that's probably the best way.
Yeah.
So is that a fight now that you're over and done with? In the sense of, are you looking forward to the next challenge, or because you took it as a loss, would you like to, run that one back and do it again?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I want that fight back tomorrow. It's like any loss, any loss you ever get, you want that fight back. So yeah, no, that's definitely a fight that I want to run it back.
And is it something that you want to run back straight away, or are you happy to take a few fights in between before you get there?
No, I don't plan ahead, man. I just do. I take it one step at a time. Do what's in front of me. Whoever gets offered to me, I'm fighting them, and we'll go from there.
And so when you got this call up as well, was it a one fight deal? And obviously, I would assume that after doing a fight of the night performance, they'll contact you again, or did you straight away sign on for 3 fights? Or
it's a 4-fight contract. So yeah, just based on performance on my next 4 fights, that's where we go.
Nice. And I guess everyone was kind of hoping that they'd get to Fight Island, right? Did you ever imagine that maybe you'd get the call up for that, or?
Yeah, I've been waiting. So it's it would have been a cool experience. I was just helping Alex Volkanovski get ready for Fight Island, actually. So he...
well, I don't know if you were helping him, because according to him, as I said, he kind of threw you under the bus because he's doing all this press stuff and he's got this busted up nose. And I remember actually looking at some forums and people were like, he's got a broken nose. And I was like, I don't know if it's broken. It's definitely got a few marks on there. And when they asked, they were like, oh, how'd you do the nose? And they were just like, Jamie Mullarkey. And I was like,
nah, yeah, I got a cheeky one in on him. Just that was probably the only shot I did land on him.
So was that like a head clash, or how did that all happen?
No, we were just sparring. I think I just landed a jab or something like that. But yeah, it was good rounds down there. We had a lot of the top guys in the featherweight and lightweight Australian circuit were down, just helping him get ready. Obviously, crazy time to get ready for a fight, a world title fight. I think he got 6 weeks notice or something that he's defending his world title against Max Holloway. So he had to, obviously Alex and his coach, Joe Lopez, had it freestyle. They had to get an exemption from the government and make it all legal that we're allowed to train, do full contact training. because at that stage it wasn't legal yet for everyone to be doing full contact, or the gyms weren't open and everything like that. So,
And I have to ask, you obviously watched the fight,
yep,
and how did you score it?
man, razor close fight, but I think Alex took it. Yeah. I gave rounds 1 and 2. Max got off to a good start. Round 3 was the toss up round for me, and then Alex definitely won the last 2 rounds, which are they're the important ones. They're the championship rounds that you have to leave it when you're leaving it in the hands of the judges. That's the last thing they see, and Alex outworked him.
And so, with the toss up round being round 3, what is it that tilted towards Alex in your opinion?
I think his constant movement and pressure, and he had more volume. Look, it was a close fight. Like, it's hard to say. It could have gone either way. I think it's one of those sort of fights, but I do think Alex did enough and did more.
Look,
Alex is the champion too. If you're taking the belt off the champ, you got to do a lot more.
See, I'm in two thoughts with that. Like, I totally agree. Like, it is totally objective. Once again, right? When we're talking about judges, what they look at, and when you look at the fight stats after the fight, he definitely was the busier.
He did?
Fighter, yeah.
I didn't even see the stats.
So, well, actually, he wasn't busier, but he was at a higher percentage, and so he got more hits. So basically, he landed more shots at a higher percentage, but Max threw more shots.
Right.
But obviously missed more shots too, right?
Yeah.
So those kind of stats do back up that, Alex won that fight. If you are going to put it to those stats, but once again, the judges don't have those stats on the night, right? So that one's a hard one. When it comes to like beating the champ, I don't necessarily agree. Like, I always I know that's how it's always looked upon.
Yeah, it
right?
is the way it is though.
But yeah, like, it's the same, like sometimes, and I've seen this in other interviews and stuff, when they talk about, like, you can have a fight that's 48-47, and then you can have a fight that's actually 45-50, and the 45-50 is actually closer than the 48-47.
Yeah.
But people are like, what do you mean? Like, it's a blowout, but like, it's the same thing. You should be judging each round separately, not the whole fight. So you could have, 5 rounds which are razor close, but each one going to the one person, making it the 45-50, and the other one could be like a bit of a blowout here and there, but yet it's closer at the end total. And I kind of feel the same way that, and I forgot who said it, but it's kind of like, once you go into a title fight, you're both fighting for that title. It's not that I'm trying to take the title off you. It's the fact that we're both fighting now for that title. But it does get thrown around a lot, and I'm sure in the judges' opinions, a lot of the time they're like, has he done enough to take it? So I do see that is the case, but I don't necessarily agree with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right. I'm with you. I feel the same, but I think that the later rounds, like, as a fighter, I think those rounds should be more important, because if that fight keeps going and there's no referee, there's no rounds, there's no judges, like, who's winning? Who's gonna kill who? That's the way I look at it. So I see those later rounds. They did a lot for Alex.
So nice. So anyway, so going back to you though, you had your fight in October. You came out of it, and then you said you had another fight lined up, correct?
Yeah. Did
you have an opponent already?
Yes. Yeah, I was supposed to fight Jalen Turner, lightweight from America. That was scheduled for February 23rd in New Zealand. Man, it was like the best I've ever felt leading up to a fight. And then I was grappling, I was rolling one morning, and my neck just went, and just had like the worst sort of nerve pain in my neck and running down my arm. Tried to push through it for 2 weeks, and so 2 weeks we were doing what we could. I wasn't wrestling. I was just in severe pain for those 2 weeks, and I decided to go get an MRI scan done when I couldn't really lift my left arm. I started getting like the nerve damage was starting to take its toll, and getting my hands up was starting to get difficult. So went and got an MRI, and they basically said you got to go have surgery like as soon as you can.
And what was the kind of like timeline on that? Like, was it just a quick sort of procedure, or was it a lengthy kind of? And when I say procedure, not just the surgery itself, I'm sure they did that in one session, but like, was there a lot of rehab coming out of that?
Yeah, there was a bit. It was a 12-week recovery they gave me, and yeah, just extensive rehab. Obviously, coming out of a neck surgery, but it's all good now. I'm back doing everything that I was doing before, training hard, and I'm feeling really good. So happy with where it's at.
And have they given you any hints now? Like, is it still going to be the same fight when you return, or now you're back on the shelf and you're waiting to hear about your next fight, or what's sort of the process on that?
I'm waiting to hear. I don't know. It's it's a crazy time, so we're waiting to hear. I'm hoping to get on as soon as possible, man.
Yeah, and would you prefer to fight over, say, in Vegas, or, I mean, Fight Island's done now for the foreseeable future anyway. I mean, there's talk maybe September or something like that. But would you prefer to fight over there and make that journey, or are you hoping that we get something on this side of the ditch again?
It honestly doesn't matter to me, man. But the thoughts of going to America is pretty cool. It's like that's the dream, isn't it? Like traveling the world and fighting people. So yeah, that excites me.
Nice. And so with your training partners now, how and I'll only say it here in Australia because I mean over in the States you have so many camps, and I guess it's kind of easy to stay separated from one another. But how is the scene over here? I mean, and what I mean by that is obviously you fought Alex, and then now you've been a training partner for him for his most recent title defense. Alex is also a teammate of Brad, right? So like, it's kind of like how tight knit is everyone, I guess, in the local scene. And I only say that as well because I know when Izzy fought Robert, well, it's the same card. We were all down in Melbourne, and Alex was down there as well, and he was obviously rooting for his boy Izzy. But then I saw in this last fight, just this past weekend, that Alex was tweeting out support for now Robert, obviously, because it's not his boy. So, yeah. So how close are, I guess, all our national fighters, or is there still like?
No, I think the Anzacs, like we help. We support each other. Like if we cross paths, we cross paths. Like we're fighters. At the end of the day, I've got no problem with training with different gyms. I've got my team, Central Coast MMA. They're my team. But if any of us have to fight each other, we're gonna sign the dotted line. But I think we all stick together, and if an Anzac's fighting someone else, but it's not my teammate, not against me, I'll be rooting for them.
Yeah, nice. And so have you also trained at Freestyle as well? Like when you helped Alex, or did he come to Central specifically?
No, it was down in Freestyle gym in Windang. And
did you pick anything up there? Like, is there different methods, or is it just, strictly business as normal and you're just in there as a sparring partner?
No, we learnt heaps. So we were doing 2 sessions a day every day. So not every session was, balls to the wall, throwing down. We would have the technical sessions, and yeah, learn heaps off. That's the best thing about going under one roof with all the best training partners in the country. And I was very grateful to be a part of it, to be honest, mate. It was a massive learning experience, and I was very grateful that Alex and Joe Lopez had us down there and put it all together.
And do you ever see yourself, I'm assuming maybe after if you ever do run back the Brad fight, do you ever see yourself maybe going across the ditch and doing a little bit with City kickboxing over there? And only because of the kind of staple that they've got, which is, your Dan Hookers, your Shane Young's over there. I mean, Cam Roston's moved over there now. You got Izzy, Alex does a lot of his camp over there. Do you ever see yourself going over there just for a little while, to have a little play around with those fellas, or do you see yourself doing all your training over here in Australia?
Oh, possibly, mate. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen in the future? But for now, it'll be with my team. And then, if I'd be anything's possible, mate.
Nice. And I guess, so granted, we're in a pandemic, but we're at the midpoint of 2020. How do you see the rest of 2020 playing out in an ideal world? Like, I know it's a bit hard to judge right now because of the pandemic, but do you see yourself fighting this year, or do you see yourself fighting more than once this year, or what are your kind of thoughts and feelings about, as I say, the back end of 2020?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this the other day. I'd love to fight twice this year. I definitely will fight this year. That's a certain. And hopefully come out ungrazed and healthy, and get straight back into it.
Nice. And I guess the last thing I'll say with your camp specifically, who are some of the people we need to watch out for coming out of your camp?
Yeah, we've got a few coming up. There's Drew Alexander. He's just had a cracker fight with one of the other best welterweights in the country on Super Fight. They had an absolute war, and he's one to look out for, definitely. Tavita Vaolga, I think he's the number 2 ranked heavyweight in the amateurs. Cody Freeman, he's up and coming lightweight. He's going to be making waves real soon. So we got a ton of guys coming through, like young, hungry, training very hard.
And are they hungry enough to knock you off your poach, or
mate,
are you still putting these youngins settle down, kids?
Mate, we got to keep them in their place. You know what I mean? Nah, it's good, man. We've got a good thing going down at Central Coast MMA, and good team, good lots of talent, and everyone's hungry, and they're keeping me on my toes, man. Honestly, it's tough rounds down there.
And how often do you train? Is it once a day, twice a day? What's your kind of week look like?
Twice a day, every day, and then I'll spar on Saturdays. And usually I try to do something on Sunday, but usually it's like a beach workout or just something fun, something relaxing, just to keep the body moving, But every day, twice a day.
And you obviously came down to Sydney today, and that was for a training session as well. Is that like a weekly thing, or what are your trips to Sydney for?
Yeah, there's nothing set in stone at the moment, but I'll come down and I'll train with Josh Coolabauer and Alan Philpott. We were just down at Legends Gym today with Benavidez, striking coach. So doing some good rounds down here too. And I'm looking to make that a weekly thing.
Yeah, nice. Well, I guess we'll start to wrap up. But before we do, I guess we can run your predictions on some of the fights that are coming up. Obviously, they're talking about having the Khabib Justin Gaethje fight.
Yeah.
Who do you pick on that? How? Why?
I think Justin Gaethje wins that fight. I think his wrestling is going to be enough to cancel out Khabib's, and I think he'll stop him. I think he'll get it. My prediction for that is TKO 4th round.
It's amazing with Gaethje, right? Because he was always this highlight fighter, but he was kind of really throwing caution to the wind. And I think ever since he's really kind of settled and become a more strategic fighter, he's a hard one to bet against, right? Because at the beginning, like, I mean, he was entertaining the whole way through. He was you know what I mean? Like, he was one of the most entertaining fighters. But, you know, you go out wild, there's every chance you can get shot too.
Yeah.
Where now I mean, his last fight against Tony, I didn't expect that. I honestly didn't. And that's only because I've seen Tony train as well and stuff like that. And, you know, I knew it was going to be a tough fight, but I didn't see it going the way it did. So I have to say Gaethje is definitely one to look out for. Whether he can get Khabib, I don't know, but we'll see. What's the other ones? DC versus Stipe for the trilogy, and I guess DC's retirement fight. Do you think he gets the belt back and retires, or do you think Stipe is now the heavyweight champ?
Yeah, I got to go with Stipe for that one. I think he's overcome that hurdle in that last fight and that last war. It's hard to say with the heavyweights because it's just one punch away from being over. Like you saw in the first Cormier Stipe fight, just one right hook and it was done. But yeah, I think Stipe he's well rounded and yeah, I think he grinds out another win, maybe a decision this time.
See, I might go against you on that one, and only because obviously DC won the first, and I felt that DC was winning the second.
Right.
I felt like on the scorecards he kind of was up, but then he got caught. Right. And props to Stipe. I mean, he's a workhorse, but I kind of felt like, you know. But then again, like what at that age as well, you just don't know. Right, yeah. Like you just don't know.
The heavyweights are the hardest too. It's so hard, and that's why I think Stipe is the best heavyweight there ever was because he's held the belt for the longest.
Yeah,
at this time where it's so hard to keep winning fights at this level, especially if you're a heavyweight or light heavyweight like Johnny Jones. It's just incredible.
What did you think of Gustafsson? Coming up to heavyweight, did you watch that fight?
Yeah.
What did you think of his heavyweight debut?
I thought he was looking good. I think physically he looks good as a heavyweight. He fills out, looks strong, but Fabricio Verdum's the worst possible guy that you can go to the ground with. He's the worst heavyweight to go to the ground with. Like, I think he's a 2-time world jiu-jitsu champion. Yeah, that was just unfortunate how it played out for him, but I'm interested to see his next fight, see where he goes from here.
And I wonder now if kind of seeing him in heavyweight, if this will be kind of like, you know, John Jones is kind of like iron him out, going, I've beaten him, and kind of now seeing like, you know, whether he moves up as well. That'd be interesting to see. And then the last title fight, which I guess everyone's waiting on, which is the Izzy Costa fight. How do you see that one play out?
I think Izzy beats him. I think it's going to be technique versus brawn, and yeah, I say Israel taking that fight. Just he judges distance so well. He understands the distance game. In saying that, Paulo's a big, strong guy. Like if he can use his wrestling, take him down, wear on him, lean on him, it could be a good fight, but I think Israel.
Do you think it goes the distance?
No, I think he stops him. I think he might stop him in, I want to say, second, third round.
So it's crazy now, right? Because before the Whittaker fight, like everyone was always like, oh, he's a point scorer, he's this and that. After he managed to knock Rob out, and granted, he did it in the first round, right? Had there been another 20 seconds, that wouldn't have gone past the first round. But then to be able to do it in the second round, and just knowing Rob's history with
Yoel,
you know, and everyone's always like, well, Yoel can knock anybody out. And then like to be able to do in 2 rounds what Yoel couldn't do in 10 was just amazing to watch in a sense, right? It really was. But I guess we'll wrap it up now, unless there's anything you kind of want to bring up or have a chat about.
That's just big thanks to my gym. I'll just give my gym a shout out, Central Coast MMA. I'd like to just thank my sponsors, Dependable Fire Services, Coastal Plumbing and Draining, Next Gen Nutrition, and Stash House Clothing.
Perfect. And just one last one, since we're talking about clothing. UFC going from Reebok to Venom. Good, bad? What's your take?
Oh, I don't have any idea. I honestly don't know yet. I haven't looked into it. I don't think anyone really knows what the new deal is yet. So I will cross that bridge when we get to it, I suppose.
I think it's a good move. Like, I mean, Venom's always been known as a mixed martial arts kind of brand, right? Like, I just think, like before Reebok joined the UFC, I always just thought of them as a athletic brand. I didn't actually look at them as a mixed martial arts. And I mean, we're talking about like what this and that. But I just think that, when they were talking about the original uniforms, there was a few mishaps and this and that. I just don't think that'll happen with Venom. Because I just think that's their game, like you're now getting people in the game. It's kind of like if they would have said, we're going to Tap Out, for instance. And it's like, well, Tap Out, that's all they do, right? So I think it's a good move. But yeah, you're right. Only time will tell. For people that kind of want to get in touch with you or reach out to you or maybe even come get their ass beat by you for a little moment, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, just follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Jamie_Mullarkey, and Central Coast MMA is the place to go. Want to come in, get some rounds in, be my guest.
Well, on that, I won't be coming in because I've seen the damage that you do, but I do appreciate you making the trip as always, and I look forward to your next fight. And look, I'll put money on it now. I think it'll be another fight of the night performance just because I know the kind of fights that you put up. But on that note, I really do appreciate the time for you to come in. And until we have some more news and get you back on another time, we'll leave it at that.
I'm a one.